Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for Assemblymember Seawright's Town Hall Tuesday. We will begin in just a few moments. If you have questions for the speakers and presenters tonight, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can email our office at seawrightr@nyassembly.gov. And we will try to answer all those questions live tonight, but if we cannot get to them, we will be sure to get you an answer as soon as we can. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll begin in just a few moments.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our 52nd Town Hall Tuesday. I'm Assemblymember Rebecca Seawright, serving the Upper East Side, Yorkville, and Roosevelt Island, and hosting tonight from the Capitol in Albany. As a member of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee, I continued my participation in hearings on higher education, health, local governments, and other issues important. I took the opportunity to question our mayor, Eric Adams, on overdevelopment, the disappearance of local small businesses, and his appointment nominations to the Roosevelt Island REOC, Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation Board of Directors. There's no woman serving on the board currently, and we feel it's very important to advocate and maintain diversity on that board. I secured a commitment from the mayor to visit the 76th Assembly District and ride the Roosevelt Island tram and meet with constituents. Just yesterday, my Roosevelt Island legislation to appoint residents to its board of directors passed the Assembly. During budget negotiation season, I am supporting critical dollars and legislation to benefit senior citizens. In particular, full funding for fair pay for home care workers, to invest in the workforce, taking care of the disabled and our elders, seeking an increase in COLA for human service providers, developing and rehabilitating senior affordable housing fund, the New York State Office for the Aging, and to make permanent the Nourish New York program and support funding for Meals on Wheels that has kept our most vulnerable fed throughout the height of this pandemic, and technology services for our senior adults. Our office has been hearing from constituents about their recent Con Ed bills being 2 to 3 times the normal price, and this is unacceptable. I wrote to the New York State Department of Public Service Chair Christian to oppose the sharp increase due to supply issues. I'm pushing back on a proposal by the governor to lift the floor area ratio cap, eliminating the long-standing, reasonable and necessary cap on residential development in New York State. We must preserve the character of our neighborhood and the quality of life for the Upper East Side, Yorkville, and Roosevelt Island. We will hear more tonight on aging from advocates with our guest speakers, Kim Lerner, who's the director of Live On New York's Benefits Outreach Program, which offers benefit screenings and application assistance to older adults. She's a licensed social worker and has over 10 years experience working with older adults, their families, and caregivers. And we so appreciate your joining us this evening. So we'd like to just take a pause. And also, we have a very, very special guest that will be joining us. Our United States Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, will be joining us, and we'll break into the program whenever he jumps on the Zoom with us. But for now, I'd like to just pause here for your presentation, and then followed by a few questions.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Seawright, and thank you to your wonderful staff for inviting us to be here with you today. And thank you everybody for joining us. So as the Assembly member said, my name is Kim Lerner, and I'm the director of Live On New York's Benefits Outreach Program. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So as I said, so I'm the director of Live On New York's Benefits Outreach Program. And because Live On, it might be true that you are not familiar with what Live On does, I just want to go over what we do just for a moment, just so you become more familiar with us. So Live On New York is a nonprofit organization of approximately 120 other organizations that provide programs and services to older adults. In a nutshell, our mission is to make New York City a better place to age. And we do that in 3 ways. Advocate for just policies and sufficient resources for older adults and also for our members. We provide training and education to our members. And we have our third program, which is our benefits outreach program. And the benefits outreach program offers benefits screening and application assistance to older adults and actually anybody who comes to our door. We do not turn anybody away.
And let's just take a break because we have been joined by America's Majority Leader, our United States Senator from New York, Chuck Schumer.
Hey,
And
thank you. I am
yes.
going to have to be really short because I got to go to the floor getting our budget done. I wanted to thank you for doing the great job that you are doing. And I want to thank all of our seniors for their activity and activism. And here's the one thing I want to assure everybody. We are fighting real hard on many issues that affect our seniors, but one of them is to get negotiations let Medicare negotiate prescription drug costs so the costs will go way down. It's an extremely high priority for us. I'm going to fight for it, and just use your activism to remind everybody we need to stop the country from being in the arms of pharma and instead get our prescription drug prices down by negotiation. I'm going to be that quick. I apologize. They just called me to the floor, but I didn't want to not talk to you. So thank you, Rebecca. You're a great legislator. Chuck Schumer has had 100% senior voting record for a very long time and always will. Thank you, everybody.
thank you for standing up for us, America's Majority Leader, our United States Senator Chuck Schumer. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
And now we'll go back to Kim Lerner and the share screen with the document that we had up previously.
Okay. As I was saying, our benefits outreach program screens older adults and anybody else who would like to be screened for a whole host of benefits programs. And we also assist people throughout the application process. So a big part of our mission or our work is to educate older adults, their family members, their caregivers on these benefits outreach, these benefits programs. That is really crucial because in the work that we've done, we have come to realize that many older adults are not aware of these benefits programs that can really be helpful and crucial to them being able to age in their home. And so I have a couple of statistics that really demonstrate that fact, just to give you some idea of what I'm talking about. So now these statistics were compiled prior to the pandemic, so they're probably a little higher now, but just so you get an idea. So for example, 35% of older adults in New York City are living with food insecurity. Now, again, it's probably higher now. 40% of older New Yorkers, and that comes to about 300,000 people, who qualify for SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is the benefit to purchase food, are not enrolled. Even though they're eligible, they're not enrolled. And the same holds true with housing benefits. 32% of New York City single older adults are paying more than 50% of their income on housing costs. So that's your rent, mortgage, utilities, property taxes, all of those expenses. And at least 42% of New Yorkers who are eligible for New York City's rent freeze program, also known as SCREE or DREE, and that comes to about 70,000 people, are not enrolled in that program. So as you can see, hundreds of thousands of older adults are not receiving the benefits that they're eligible for. And so, of course, the big question is why? Why aren't people receiving these benefits? And we've really identified a couple of reasons. The first, of course, is people are just unaware of these benefits programs, which is understandable. And that's why we're all here today. The second reason is the misconceptions surrounding these benefits, the stigma surrounding these benefits, and then the other barriers that are inherent in these benefits programs. So very briefly, I'm going to go over a couple of these because they may resonate with you and you may be able to relate to them. So the first is the misconceptions about the benefits programs. Well, in our work with clients, we often hear people say that if they apply for benefits or if they receive benefits, they will be taking benefits away from other people, or there's somebody else who needs it, who may need it more. And that's actually not true. For the most part, in general or overall, most of these benefits programs are well-funded, and meaning that anybody who is eligible for these programs can get these benefits. Nobody is taking anything away from anybody else. That's really important to remember. The other misconception is that people automatically think that their income is too high for these benefits. And while that may be true for some of these benefits programs, you'd be surprised at how many benefits programs have a little higher eligibility guideline, income guideline, and that you may indeed be eligible for these programs. So that is why we always encourage people to be screened to see which benefits they may be eligible for, because you just never know. The other misconception is people think they can't have money in the bank, checking account, savings account, or own a car or a house and be eligible for these benefits. And that too is untrue. For the most part, you can have money in the bank, own a car, and own your residence. So the other reason I want to mention, or the other barrier, is the stigma. And this is a big one and very really hard to address sometimes. And that is the shame and embarrassment that people have about needing benefits, which is understandable. And this really prevents people from getting these benefits. Many people believe these benefits are only for, quote, poor people, unquote. And people never thought that they would have to, that at this time in their life, they'd never have to ask for this additional assistance. And so when we're talking to people, we really try to stress that people have worked throughout their whole lives and supported the system by paying taxes so that these programs are available to everybody who needs them. So we have paid the taxes, and now is the time that you can gain from what you've put into the system. Also, another thing to keep in mind is if you are retired and living on a fixed income, you're either living on maybe just Social Security or Social Security and a pension. That can be very difficult while prices for food and housing, utilities and medications are still increasing. So these benefits are a way that can free up your income so that you can pay for other needs while being assisted with the food and your housing. So that is really what we try to underline when we're speaking to clients. And finally, the barriers that are attached to these programs, the confusing applications, the difficulty compiling the documentation. Many people think the process is overwhelming, and it can be for sure. And also the difficulty in dealing with government agencies. So that is really why we created our program, the Benefits Outreach Program, because we know that it is difficult really navigating these programs. So we will be there to help you through every step of the way so that if any issues arise, we can try to resolve them. So now I'm going to run through these benefits programs quickly because we don't have much time. So it's going to be an overview of these programs. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Or of course, you can contact me after the presentation. So the first benefit I'm going to talk about is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with SNAP. SNAP is the nation's largest nutritional program, and it is designed to assist older adults and their families who live on a fixed income and who may not be able to afford nutritious food as the cost of living rises. So how does SNAP work? SNAP provides a monthly benefit that can help with grocery costs. And what happens is every month, that benefit is deposited onto what's called an EBT card or an electronic benefits transfer card. And essentially, it's just like you use it just like you would use a credit card or a debit card. When you go to the supermarket and you go to pay for food, you swipe the card, you put in the PIN number, and you purchase the food. It's that easy. Now, you can use your EBT card or your SNAP card at many different venues all over the city, many places except SNAP. So supermarkets, farmers markets, pharmacies like Rite Aid or Walgreens, except SNAP if you are purchasing food, and a relatively new option is to use SNAP online to purchase food. You can use your SNAP card to purchase food through Amazon.com, Instacart.com, Walmart.com, and ShopRite.com. So that, of course, was extremely helpful during the pandemic, and it still is helpful. So just remember that you can use it there as well, online as well. What can SNAP be used for? SNAP benefits in general can be used to buy unprepared food. So for example, the example we like to use is you can buy a raw chicken, but not a rotisserie chicken. So for example, if you want to buy food that's in a salad bar or hot foods, you really can't use SNAP to purchase that type of food, but you can use it to purchase every other grocery, breads, fruits, vegetables, meats, chicken, eggs, all of that kind of groceries. And you cannot use it to purchase pet foods, unfortunately, or household supplies like soaps or paper towels, alcoholic beverages or tobacco, and you can't buy to purchase vitamins or medicines. Now, the amount of SNAP that you are eligible for is based on your income, the number of people in your household, and your expenses. So the expenses include your rent, utilities, and medical expenses. The maximum income for SNAP, now when I talk about this, I'm specifically talking about people who are 60 and older or younger than 60 and disabled. So for a one-person household, the maximum income for SNAP is $2,147 a month. For two people, it's $2,903 a month. And for three people, it's $3,660 a month. The maximum amount of SNAP you can get as a one-person household is $250 a month. For two people, it's $459, and for three people, it's $658. Now, since the pandemic, the state is providing everybody who is eligible for SNAP with the maximum amount. So now is really the best time to apply for SNAP because you are assured of getting the maximum amount. So if you're one person, you would get $250 for as long as the pandemic, the emergency is in place. After the emergency is in place, then they will recalculate your benefit according to your income and your expenses. So again, just a couple of things I want to emphasize. You can own a home or a car and get benefits. You can receive SNAP benefits and also receive Meals on Wheels. You must be a permanent legal resident for at least 5 years or a citizen. And your SNAP benefit, it says here now that you have to recertify every 2 years, but actually some people now they've expanded it or extended the period. You only need to recertify every 3 years. And as far as the application process, for most people who are 60 and older, they can use now a much shortened version of the SNAP application, which is only 2 pages long. So that makes it much easier to apply. And you need to provide proof of your ID, your income, housing expenses, utilities, and medical expenses. So next I'm going to go into the utility-based benefits. First, the Home Energy Assistance Program, and that is also known as HEAP. HEAP is a one-time grant that helps cover energy and utility costs. There are 4 HEAP programs throughout the year now. The first began in October, and that is called the regular HEAP program, and that provides a one-time grant towards your heating costs. The other benefit, and this is a new HEAP program, is the regular arrears supplement. And that is for people who have fallen behind in their bills, who are overdue and have accrued arrears. So if you are behind in your Con Edison, in your heating bills, you can apply for this one-time grant, and it will provide you with a grant towards the back expenses. The next program began in January, on January 3rd, and that is the emergency HEAP program. And that mainly covers, it's for emergencies, as it says. It's for if you are running out of fuel, if you own a house or you have to pay for heating, you can apply for that grant. And then in May, this year, I believe it's going to be May 2nd, begins the HEAP Cooling Assistance Program, and that will provide a grant that will pay for the purchase of an air conditioner or a fan if you do not have one of those in your household. Now, if you apply for SNAP and you're approved, you are automatically approved for HEAP as well. But if you have to apply separately, the eligibility for one person, the income guideline is $2,729 a month. For two people, it's $3,569 a month. And for three people, it's $4,409 a month. So it's a little bit higher than the SNAP guidelines. The next utility benefit, and this is brand new, and this began only, I believe, in December, is the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program, also known as LIWAP. And this is for people who have water expenses and who have past due bills for at least 20 days. So this will cover drinking water or wastewater services. So again, you must be 20 days overdue. The eligibility criteria is the same for HEAP as I just mentioned. And this grant will provide up to $2,500 per your drinking water or wastewater provider, or $5,000 up to $5,000 if your drinking water and wastewater services are combined. The benefits are paid directly to the vendor, and you can apply online, by mail, or over the phone at the address that you see. Or of course, any of these benefits, you are welcome to call Live On New York and we will help you through the process. Quickly moving on, the next utility benefit is the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP. This was formerly called the Emergency Broadband Benefit. It's now called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 a month discount on internet plans. It also can provide a one-time discount of up to $100 towards the purchase of a laptop, tablet, or desktop computer. If you already received SNAP or Medicaid or SSI benefits or veterans or survivor benefits, you are automatically eligible for this program. Also, if you receive Lifeline, you are automatically eligible for this program. If you don't have any of these benefits, the maximum income is the same as for SNAP. One person, $2,147 a month, and for two people, $2,903 a month. And you can apply online, or you can call your service provider directly, or you can contact us. Now, going into the medical expenses or the medical-based benefits, we have first the Medicare Savings Program. Now, this is probably one of the most underutilized benefits. Many people are not familiar with it. Also known as MSP, the Medicare Savings Program will pay for your Medicare Part B premium if you are paying for that premium. So right now, as I'm sure many of you know, the Medicare Part B premium increased to $170 for most people. That's up from $148.50 last year. So if you are eligible for this program, that $170 that may be deducted from your Social Security benefits or that you have to pay in another way will be waived. So you will have that $170 back in your pocket or back in your Social Security benefit check every month. So that's a huge savings. Also, if you happen to have filed for Medicare late and you are now paying a penalty for enrolling late, if you are eligible for the Medicare Savings Program, it will waive that penalty throughout the time for as long as you're eligible for the Medicare Savings Program. And finally, if you are paying for the Medicare Part A premium, which can be over $400 a month, you would be eligible to have that waived as well. So as you can see, this benefit is worth over, hundreds of dollars, or can be worth hundreds of dollars to people who are eligible. Now, eligibility for Medicare is relatively low. For one person, the maximum income currently is $1,469 a month. And for two people, it's $1,980 a month. Now that will increase in the next couple of months, but most likely it will only increase maybe $20 or so. But just so you know, also there is no resource test. So it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank, as long as your income, your monthly income is at this level or below, you can receive this benefit. Quickly, this is just what gave you an example of the application. It's a very simple application, one page, and that's it. And you need to provide your ID, proof of your residence, your Medicare card, and proof of your monthly income. Next is probably the most complicated benefit, which is Medicaid. I'm sure all of you know Medicaid is a health insurance coverage. And in New York State, there are two ways to access Medicaid, depending on the population that you're in, or really your age group. If you are 64 or under, you would apply for Medicaid through what's called the Marketplace or the Department of Health. So for tonight's purposes, I'm going to focus on the second type of Medicaid, which is for people who are 65 and older, people who are disabled, and people who are certified blind. And people in that category would apply for Medicaid through the Human Resources Administration. So as I said, we're going to focus on that tonight, that type of Medicaid. So under Medicaid, there's three types of coverage. There's community Medicaid that provides coverage for basic medical needs, such as outpatient care, some inpatient care, some vision coverage, prescription, and some dental coverage. The second type of Medicaid is community-based Medicaid with long-term coverage. And that is for people who need home care or want to attend an adult day program or need some rehab services. So that is the type of Medicaid you would need to cover those expenses. And finally, there's the nursing home Medicaid for people who need to spend an extended amount of time in a nursing home. So Medicaid, as you'll see, the maximum income for Medicaid, for this type of Medicaid, again, for 65 and older, disabled or blind, is very low. So for one person, the maximum income is $934 a month. Now there is an asset or resource test. You, as a one person, you can have up to $16,800 in resources. So that's that could be life insurance, checking or savings account, retirement, and a burial plan. For two people, the maximum income is $1,367 a month, and the asset test for that household is $24,600. Now, many people who are on this call, and many people in general, have a higher income than the maximum income for Medicaid, but you still might be eligible for Medicaid coverage, even if you are over income. And that is through what's called the Medicaid Spend Down Program. You might have also heard it called the Medicaid, the Excess Income Program. So the spend down in Medicaid Spend Down is the amount of money that you are over the maximum amount of income for Medicaid. So for example, if your income is $1,234 a month, that means you are $300 over the maximum income, as we stated here. So that means that $300 is called the spend down. And you can think of a spend down as like a deductible. It's an amount that you need to satisfy or meet before you can get Medicaid coverage. So there's three ways you can really meet that spend down or satisfy that spend down. The first is that you can pay that spend down, or in this scenario, that $300 every month. You would pay that to Medicaid. Very few people want to do that. That's a lot of money to pay. The second option is you can provide proof that you have medical expenses in the amount of that spend down. So you would have to provide $300 proof that you have $300 in medical expenses every month that you want Medicaid. And finally, there is the setting up a pooled income trust. Now, this is really kind of complicated. It's complicated to explain and to understand for me. But just to give you an idea, so a pooled income trust is really specifically for people who need Medicaid for home care. So it was really created for that, for those people who need home care. And what happens is the pooled income trust is essentially an account that is set up. It's set up by nonprofits that are authorized throughout New York State. And what happens is once you have set up that pooled income trust, the $300 spend down goes from your account, let's say your checking account, it's transferred into that pooled income trust. And once it is transferred into that trust, it is no longer considered part of your income. So that leaves you with the income level that would make you eligible for Medicaid in your bank account as your monthly income. But what is wonderful about the pooled income trust is that you do not give up that $300 that's in the pool, that's in the trust. You can use it to spend it on your living expenses. You can spend it on your rent, your utilities, your mortgage, whatever, your clothing, whatever you need. You can direct the agency that handles that trust to pay those expenses using that money. So that is all. We always recommend that people who need home care and who are considerably over income for Medicaid to look into a trust, because that's often the best option. And quickly, to apply for Medicaid, you do need to apply a copy of your ID, proof of your immigration status, your Medicare card, proof of your address, proof of your monthly income, proof of all of your resources. Okay, so the next benefits I'm going to discuss are basically housing related. The first one I'm going to talk about is the senior citizen rent increase exemption and the disability rent increase exemption, familiarly known as SCREE or DREE, or New York City's rent freeze program. SCREE or DREE freezes the rent for tenants who are 62 and older for SCREE, or for tenants who have a disability for DREE. And tenants must live in certain types of rent regulated apartments, which I'll go over in a second. But the thing to keep in mind is that landlords do not lose money if you receive SCREE. Oftentimes people come to us and they are anxious about applying for SCREE. They don't want their landlords to get angry at them or to cause any trouble. And truthfully, landlords don't lose money. They do receive a tax abatement on their property tax bill in the amount that you would pay for the increase of your rent. So please just know that you would not get into trouble by your landlord if you apply for SCREE. And actually, it is against the law for landlords to not accept SCREE or DREE. Eligibility for SCREE or DREE, as I mentioned, you must live in certain rent-regulated apartments. That includes rent-controlled apartments, rent-stabilized apartments, and Mitchell-Lamas, which are basically regulated co-ops. Also eligible are SROs. To be eligible for SCREE, you must be on the list, be 62 and older for SCREE, or have a disability and receive disability benefits for DREE. There is also an income criteria. For SCREE, unlike the other benefits, they look at your previous year's income. So for SCREE, the maximum income for your previous year has to be at 50,000 or under. That's for the total, your total annual income for the previous year. Additionally, you have to show that you're paying at least a third of your monthly income on rent. So for example, if your household income is $3,000 a month, your rent needs to be at least $1,000 a month to be eligible for SCREE or DREE. And you do need to renew your SCREE every time your lease is up. Documentation for SCREE is ID with your date of birth, proof of your disability if you are applying for DREE, previous year's income, so that can be your tax return or your previous year's 1099 statements or W-2s. For rent stabilized tenants, you need to provide your current and previous leases. And for rent controlled tenants, you need to provide your maximum allowable base rent form that you can get from your landlord. And I just wanted to give you examples of the two different types of SCREE applications that you would fill out. This first one is for Mitchell-Lamas. So it's just a one-page application. And the second one is for people who live in rent stabilized, rent control, or SROs. And it's a couple of pages long, but it's basically the same information, your personal information, annual income for last year, and the type of apartment you live in.
We unfortunately are out of time.
I know, I'm so sorry.
And all of this is just so urgently needed and important. So we're going to post the link on our e-news and on our website. I see you're about to address the ERAP program, so let's take a minute to cover that, and then we have to turn over the next portion to our next speaker, Joseph D. Benedetto. But Absolutely. This has been really helpful, and if you could just re-emphasize to our viewers tonight, Kim, how to contact your organization for assistance. And of course, people are also available to call our district office or our capital office, and we can also connect you.
Absolutely. I'm sorry for going so long.
Oh, no, this is very valuable information.
So yes, and I can also share my slides for anybody. So you'll get all the information that's included. So yes, the Emergency Rent Assistance Program reopened a couple of weeks ago, and this is for people who fell behind in their rent due to COVID, and it will provide up to 12 months of late rent or 3 months of future rent. It can also assist with up to 12 months of late electricity or gas utility bills. So if you already applied for ERAP and you received ERAP, you wouldn't be eligible for additional ERAP. And just a caveat for all of this, for the ERAP program is, unfortunately, while they are accepting applications, there is no funding available at the moment. So the governor has requested additional funding. So you can definitely apply and basically be on a waiting list, so to speak, to be assessed for the benefit, but they are waiting to receive additional funds. So just if you do want to be screened for all of these benefits or have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me or to us at 212-398-5045, or you can email at benefits@livon-ny.org. And thank you so much for being with us, and thank you, Assembly Member.
Thank you, Kim Lerner, for joining us this evening and for your wonderful presentation. And I want to go into our next speaker, Joseph Dee Benedetto is an LMSW in the agency program and advocacy coordinator at Search and Care. He has 3 years of experience working with primarily homebound older adults in the Upper East Side, New Yorkville area. Joseph's passion is empowering older New Yorkers to engage in advocacy and use their voice to make an impact in their communities. And so, Joseph, welcome this evening, and I understand that you have a PowerPoint presentation as well.
Yes. So, and mine is a lot of visuals, and Kim covered some of the things. So, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So let me share my screen, start the slideshow from beginning. So mine is going to focus more on the advocacy dimension of benefits and entitlements. Let's go to the next slide. This is basically a lot of the things that Kim had covered earlier, basically showing that a lot of people that may be eligible for different benefits and entitlements are not applying, right? So that's part of the reason I guess we're here today. And this is a big deal. Why? For a couple of different reasons. Kim also touched on some of them, but for one of them, and I got some statistics for you all, the city's 65 and older population is projected to pass 1.4 million over the next 2 decades. So that's one of the major reasons. And another fun fact, the Upper East Side has the second largest population of older adults. So as you could see, there's definitely a concern and a need for why this conversation needs to be had, right? And in terms of needing care, approximately 2/3 of people over the age of 65 will need some kind of long-term care at some point in their lives. But one of the issues is the shortage in the different kinds of care. And the reason I'm going into this is because, of course, Medicaid and ISEP, which many people use to access home care, is a benefit and entitlement, right? And unfortunately, because of different reasons, which I'll go into, there's extreme shortages in that area. In fact, a report by the Home Care Association of New York found that 20% of positions in the field were unfilled in 2019, and 25% of patients reported an inability to find home health aides. And mind you, that's 2019 before COVID. And specifically in New York City, there was a 750 seniors on a waiting list for ISEP home care specifically in 2017. So as you could see, there's a pattern, right? And to add to that, there's an expected workforce gap of about 450,000 workers by 2025 for home care. Again, so emphasizing this is a big deal. But how did we get here, right? How did we get to this point? Again, some of the things Kim had mentioned, I would also argue ageism and ableism play a part in all of this. To share another statistic, the New York City Department for Aging's budget is less than half of 1%, which clearly does not correlate with the population and the population trend that is happening. Also, to share for home care specifically, right, it's no surprise that many home care workers don't choose that job or leave for different occupations because of the low pay. And according to another report, the New York State Direct Care Workforce Report in 2020, about 42% of home care workers live in or near the poverty level. So that's nearly half. And again, that was during the height of COVID. I would imagine that that may have changed now, maybe the same, maybe worse. But I would imagine on top of the inflation that's happening, I would imagine these low wages are not helping the situation. And the next slide, right? Everyone's going to talk about money, right? So if we have all these benefits and entitlements, if we need home care, how are we going to afford it, right? That's where it always comes back to. But really, it's kind of the opposite conversation, because there's been many studies that show that actually many benefits and entitlements, including SNAP and including home care access, actually are good for the economy. There was a study done by the National Council on Aging that shared for every dollar spent with SNAP, it generated $1.79 in the local economy. As well as they stated that an additional 1 billion, for SNAP would generate about 8,900 full-time jobs, right? So that's another argument for that. In general, just statistically, right, and fiscally, somebody having to go to a long-term care facility costs a lot more than it would for them to remain at home, which they would be contributing to their local economy doing that, right? But again, going back to the money, right? If we are talking about the low wages of home care, and I'm making the argument that we should increase their pay, how would we pay for that? And actually, there was a study done by CUNY, I believe CUNY School of Labor and the CUNY Graduate Center, and they actually determined that raising the pay for home care workers would create 18,000 additional jobs and generate 5.4 billion for the state's economy. And of course, that would be through a combination of having the home care workers no longer need public benefits to survive, right? Also having people with disabilities and older adults have the care they need, so less likely for them to take risks, right, and end up in an already strained healthcare system. So, and of course, it's probably much more nuanced than that as well, but that's pretty much the gist of it. The next section, and I thought everyone would appreciate little Charlie Brown here, but what can we do about it, right? So we know now that, you know, it's possible with money, right? And it's possible, you know, to do it, and it's actually good for the economy. I would say that there's plenty of things that you can do, including those of you that may be homebound, right? If there's one thing I want you to get from my presentation, it's that vulnerable doesn't mean voiceless. And I'm also the program coordinator for our advocacy program, and we primarily empower and educate homebound older adults to make an impact in their communities. So again, I want you to know that just because you are impaired, that doesn't mean that you don't have a voice and you can't use it. So for first and foremost, I would say support the Fair Pay for Home Care bill, right? I think that that can have a cascading impact in your local economies, on people's health and on everything, right? And to do that, I would say vote first and foremost, right? If you are able to vote, I would encourage you to do so. I know there's many people that will say, you know, what's the point and things like that. But I also would like to bring to the table that there are unfortunately people that live in our communities that don't have the ability to vote. So I would even propose the idea is if you don't have an opinion on a certain thing to vote about, maybe it would be a good idea to ask somebody who doesn't have that ability. And in a sense, you're using your vote to help somebody out who would like to, but doesn't have that ability to do so. Also, I would say call, email, snail mail your legislators, right? And that includes also thanking them. I think sometimes people get the impression that you only call your legislator when you're angry and you have something bad to say, but also legislators love it when you call and say, thank you for doing the right thing, right? Assembly Member Seawright is supporting the Fair Pay for Home Care bill. And I think that's amazing. right? And sharing that with your legislators also helps them know that they are doing what their constituents want, right? So besides also sharing that what you want them to do and that they're not, you can also share that they're doing the right things. I would also say sharing your story. So in particular, I can think of home care, right? There's different organizations like the Caring Majority that are collecting people's narratives and using that as a tool for advocacy and sharing. And it could be a positive story, right? Saying that without my home care worker, I would never, be able to do the things I need to do today. Or sharing maybe a negative situation where you haven't had home care and because of, the crisis that's happening. Both are important and vital narratives to share. And I would also say connect with your local social service agency. They'll be able to assist you with all these things, including search and care. If you're interested in doing advocacy and you don't know where to start, I can give you my contact information and we'll be happy to help you. And also, your local social service agency can also help you with accessing benefits and entitlements. I would also always encourage someone if they're on the fence and not sure if they're eligible. Again, always a good idea to call your local social service agency because people like Kim and myself may know some of the nuances or different things that you can do to make yourself eligible, right? Kim had shared earlier, for SNAP, for example, if you include your medical bills, right? That's a way that you can have your SNAP allotment increased, but it may not be, something that's, popularly known. So I would definitely encourage that. And just wanted to share something that I thought was really nice in terms of older adults and ageism and home care. There was an article that was written by an Anne Helen Peterson, and she said, the first step is not seeing home care just as valuable labor, but as labor in the first place. And I think that speaks volumes even outside of just the home care conversation for older adults, but just any service, right, that has to do with older adults. I think there's the perception of, that older adults may not need it or that they're the end of their life. So it's okay for, society to be focusing on different populations. But I want to make the case that older adults are part of the future too. That's what I have.
Great. Well, Joseph, this has been very informative and I like your slides, very creative. Let me ask you, we have a few minutes left. There's been a great need for home care services. And what changes to the home care services are advocates seeking? I know you alluded to the legislation that I'm a co-sponsor of in Albany, but during this national pandemic, have you seen an increase in need for home care services?
Oh, for sure. I don't know if Kim, you also want to speak on that. I don't have to be the only speaker, but yeah, for sure. I mean, the crisis, and I would like to label it crisis instead of issue, right? Because it really is a crisis, has existed even before COVID. Of course, COVID compounded the issue, right? Because, you had home care workers that were getting sick, passing away, also had to caretake for their own family, so that contributed to it, along with the inflation that's happening, right? So if it was hard to live on the wages before, imagine now, right? So more and more people are looking for different employment, right?
Mhm.
And you see more and more incentives from Amazon and all these other larger companies for warehouse jobs that are probably, I don't want to say easier, but less strenuous on your body, right? Because if you're doing home care and you're transferring bedbound patients or helping other people, that's strenuous on your body. So of course, somebody's going to say, would I rather move this package from here to here for $22 an hour or, potentially damage my back and do this for, even less money. So
Mhm.
it's doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the challenge there.
Well, you both are doing such outstanding work and your respective agencies. And so we will list how our viewers and constituents can reach out to your agency and nonprofit for more information or to follow up on any questions that they might have. You can also reach out to our office at 212-288-4607 or by email at crightr@nyassembly.gov, or we ask you to visit at your community office at 1485 York Avenue between 78th and 79th Street, right behind the bus shelter and right next to the post office. Please take advantage of our no-cost notary service and Tuesday free pro bono housing legal clinic. It does book up, so reach out to us to reserve your spot. Every Thursday, we offer from 12 to 2 p.m. a free no-cost PPE and home test giveaway. So we ask you to take advantage of these issues. I'm in Albany at the Capitol. We're working on the state budget and legislation to be passed this session. So I want you to all stay in touch. And if you need our services, please reach out and we will connect you to these wonderful organizations that have been on this evening. So again, thank you for joining us this evening for Town Hall Tuesday. And we look forward to our next time with you. Good night.